Okay. So again, I'm really sorry for all the technical issues. Tends to happen. It's my first time using free conference calls video process. So next time I'll try something else. But you guys are all here for this webinar today on Unleashing Your Inner Cheerleader. So let me introduce myself. Most of you know me, but for those who don't, I'm Marissa Raymond, and I wear many hats. That's really the first thing. I think we all wear many hats, which is probably why you are here. So some of the hats that I wear, I have a family. I'm a wife and a mom. I'm also a genetic counselor, so I see patients part-time. I also have my own life coaching business and see clients through that. I'm a yoga teacher, and I also do volunteer work in cancer and also with a food truck, a food bike actually. So yeah, so I wear lots of hats. And even though this is me in my picture, this is me most of the time. So I really struggle with self-care. I think we all do. I think it's something that those of us who want to help people, who are empathetic, and women as well, we tend to really put on all those hats and go full-blown into each one. And that means that sometimes we forget about ourselves. So I, about 3 years ago, had a mini break. I was really burnt out. I was just doing too much, and realized that I just had to take care of myself. So I did that in numerous ways, and over the last 3 years, I've started to design more of a self-care routine for me, and now I've started working with people who want to set self-care goals, might be struggling with those, and with maintaining consistency. So that's really what today is about. And like I said, if you have any questions at any time, just chime in. So self-care, you probably know this, right? If you look in the literature, if you look online, the blogs, they talk about 4 different types of self-care. So it's your caring for your physical self, your emotional self, your psychological self, and your spiritual self. And so what I've done over the last few years is just try and create this toolbox for myself, what I call my self-care toolbox, where I can just throw in all these different pieces of information that I learn, different tools that can help me move forward when I find myself getting stuck. And so again, my goal today is to kind of share with you how I developed my toolbox, some of the tools that are in my toolbox, and hopefully to inspire you to start creating your own if you don't have one, or to start thinking about maybe how to make your toolbox more effective for you. So step 1 for me is clarify. Clarifying your self-care goals. What are your self-care goals? For me, I set weekly goals, and this year I'm working on trying to set monthly goals and yearly goals as well. And so what I find is that the clearer I am about my goals, the easier it is to fit it into my schedule. And one of the key questions that I had to ask myself is, why do I want to achieve these goals? So if I don't know why I want to achieve them, then it's really hard to motivate myself to break away from the laundry or the dishes or the client report or whatever it is, and really focus on myself. So this is how I set my goals. This is just the monthly and the weekly goals. So I set a monthly goal, and each week I set a goal as well. And I'll give you an example of that. So, sorry, I'll give you an example of it later on. Yeah, so, but what I find and what I've said is that there's still, even when setting my goals, there's still things that stop me, and that's self-talk. So for example, my big one, and this is really the one that fundamentally landed me, I think, in burnout, was that I knew that self-care was something I had to do, but I felt like it was really selfish to focus on myself, to take that time away from everything else and filling everybody else's needs. So I let my self-care go to the bottom of my to-do list. And that is an absolute no-no, right? I mean, that is something that mindset, which I think many of us have because we've heard it over and over again, that you have to take care of other people. It's a really big mindset and a really big hurdle to overcome. And I think the key one for me, maybe you've heard of this too, but the sort of resounding example that really resonated with me was the one from the airplane, right? So you have to place the oxygen mask on yourself first before helping small children or others who may need your assistance. For those of us who are moms, career women, spouses, we have to put ourselves first. We have to. It's selfish not to, because if we don't take care of ourselves, if we don't put the oxygen mask on ourselves, we run out of energy, and then we can't be there for others. So that was really the first thing for me, and that really resonated. But there were still some other things that came in and continue to come into my mind. I am my own worst critic. I think we all are. So again, I know self-care is something I have to do, but I don't have time today. I'm just too tired. I don't know what to do. Or I hate exercising, meditating, or whatever the now thing you're supposed to do for self-care. All right, so these are all sort of messages that come into our head and make us just say, stop. I'm not going to take care of myself. So this really resonated with me when I started thinking about that. For those of you who haven't seen Tim Urban's website, he has a website called Wait But Why, and he has a great TED Talk. And he talks about this rational decision maker. So he's talking specifically about procrastination, but I think it really plays a role in the same way with people who procrastinate from self-care. So the rational decision maker is somebody who says, I do things that make sense, I think long-term, I am not a child. But then there's this instant gratification monkey that pops in that says, nope, when the rational decision maker says, this is the perfect time for self-care. The instant gratification monkey says, we have this laundry list to do, and we have to go to the store, and we have to finish that report for our client, and hey, did you read that article about what foods make you lose weight? And it keeps going. You should check Facebook and see what your friends are up to. We should wash the dishes. And you just sort of start spinning out of control. And then the panic monster comes, right? Because you've just spent all day doing all of these things that may or may not have been on your to-do list, but none of them have to do with self-care. And the panic monster says, it's 3:30, it's time for me to go pick up my kids, and I did not take care of myself yet today, and now I'm going to have to take care of my kids. And then the instant gratification monkey starts yelling, and you start yelling, and the instant gratification monkey runs away, and you're left with this panic monster. And you just go into complete overload. And this is a cycle that really leads to burnout, I find. And so there's Tim Urban's website, repeatable.com. I really resonated with this comic, and I don't know how other people feel. But yeah, so what it made me realize is I have to, again, on this line of clarifying, what do I like to do? Right? If that instant gratification monkey comes in and it's going to block me from doing all of these things, the panic monster is only going to make me do it if I feel pressured to do it. But if it's something I like to do, if it's something that I enjoy doing, then I'm going to tell the instant gratification monkey to take a seat and let me do the thing that I really like to do. So I just wanted to take a few minutes here and ask you to just start a list of if time weren't an issue, what would you be doing? You know, and along the same lines, when you were a child, what did you like to do? What made you put off the chores and go play? What were you playing? What were you doing? So let's just take a few minutes. I'm going to hop back down so that I can see in the chat box too. Let's just take a few minutes and start making a list. What would you do? And I'll just go back over to that slide. I don't know how it popped out, but here's that slide with the questions on it. And feel free to pop into the chat box now, or just to sort of give us some ideas of what you would be doing if you could do anything you wanted. Barbara says tree climbing. Yeah, playing in a creek or hiking. That's awesome. Yolande says read more novels, meet friends for lunch, relearn to play the piano. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to climb a tree. I haven't done that in a really long time, Barbara. I'd love to write more, walk more, dance, more Wing Chun. Yeah, M does a martial art called Wing Chun, and read more. Yeah, I love those things. I really am horrible at making plans with friends, as Em will tell you, because I just put everything on top of it. And Barbara, I keep going back to that tree climbing. I used to do that all the time as a kid, and I have made my list several times, and tree climbing has never come up. So now I'm going to add that to my list. Yeah. Awesome. I would really like to do puzzles. I love puzzles. I love solving puzzles and then breaking them up and starting all over. Yeah, visit friends, learn French. Yeah, so Em and I both live in France and struggle every day with the language. Yeah, absolutely. And these are the things that we really forget. Sorry. As we sort of start our to-do list, we completely forget that there are things that we love to do that we would do instead of listening to the instant gratification monkey. And those of us with kids, we know that our kids, if we ask them to do chores, they would much rather do the things that they want to do, right? They'd much rather go outside and climb a tree. So, yeah, that's awesome. So going back, the next step in the toolbox then, as we've clarified what we want to do, is to anticipate, right? So we've started making this list of what are the things we want to be doing for self-care. So this is the list I made, right? And what I do is I really look at my list. I'm going to go back to mute and just, oh no, that's better. Okay. So when I make my list, I take it a step further and I look at what is the time commitment. So for puzzles, I could spend a lot of time on puzzles, or I could do on an iPad app maybe 1 or 2 brain puzzles or something, or a coloring book. I love to color. I used to do that a lot as a kid. And again, I can spend either a short time or a long time doing it. Going out to lunch with friends, that's going to take a lot longer. Taking a nap, that's going to take a lot longer. And I need certain materials. I need a place to lie down. I can't take a nap if I need to do self-care at the supermarket or waiting to get my hair done. although that in and of itself is self-care. And going out to lunch with friends, I have to schedule with them. I have to call ahead. So there's things that I need to do. There's a time commitment to get done. So as I start, once I have my clarity and once I know what my list of self-care activities are, I can start trying to figure out how I can fit them into my schedule. And so if I'm finished a client report and I have 20 minutes before I have to go pick up my kids, I have a list right there of what I can do. And that way I don't have to sit there and wait for the instant gratification monkey to pop in and tell me all these other things that I should be doing. I can just immediately go to my list and say, oh, 20 minutes, puzzle. For 20 minutes I'm going to do puzzle. So Barbara, I'm going to go back to the climbing the tree thing. You know, if you have a tree in your backyard, 20 minutes, I'm going to go outside and climb that tree for 20 minutes. So, you know, these are ways that we can really be specific. And then we can have a list that's goal specific. So when I talked about at the beginning how I clarify my weekly goals, my weekly goal is to get 30 minutes of exercise per day. And I know that I can do 30 minutes of cardio by running around my neighborhood, or I've signed up for a 7-day online yoga challenge, then I don't even have to think beyond those things. I just know if I have 30 minutes, I go to that website for the yoga challenge and I hit play, or I put my sneakers on and I go outside. So when you plan out specific websites or map routes ahead of time, you're much more likely to do it because, again, you're stopping that instant gratification monkey from popping into your brain and taking over. And then what I try and do now is schedule time-sensitive goals onto my calendar. So if my weekly goal is 30 minutes of exercise per day, I schedule that 30 minutes into my day so that I can be absolutely sure I'm going to get it done. And often what I do is I schedule it before I have to be out of my house. So I'll schedule 30 minutes before I have to go pick up the kids. I stop my work and I do my cardio or I do my yoga. So that I know I have that time set out, and I turn off my phone. I turn off the notifications on my computer, and I just allow myself to do that. Another really great thing is meeting a friend and doing it together. So I know Em does this with her Wing Chun, like having another friend that she meets there so that they're holding her accountable as well. And so that's a really good way to kind of keep your list goal specific and to have it in your day. But now and then, we still go back to, I'm going to go back. I keep doing that, sorry. I'm going to go back and mute, I think it's Mom. So, Mom, I've just muted you, so you can unmute yourself because there's some noise in the background. And no worries. So once you have these goals and these lists planned out, we still have these voices that stop us, right? So we still have the, I don't have time today, I'm just too tired, I don't know what to do, I hate exercising or meditating. Those voices are still going to be there, but now you have a little bit more of a plan to, when you hear those voices start to come, you can say, wait a minute, no, I have a plan. I do have time because I put it in my schedule. Okay, maybe I'm tired and maybe I don't want to do it. I don't know what to do. That's not going to be an issue anymore because you're going to have the list of what to do. And maybe you hate doing what you want to do. So there's still going to be a few things that are going to potentially be there to stop you from doing it. So how can you be your own cheerleader when those voices still come up? So I have a secret. And that secret is that even that instant gratification monkey is still giving you self-care. So you do take care of yourself even if you're doing it by listening to the instant gratification monkey. So here are some ways that just in the last week I have taken care of myself without really thinking about it. I skipped my shower a few times last week to get extra sleep. I exercised, and I exercised by running up and down the stairs because I forgot to get stuff from my bedroom, and I had to just keep going up and down the stairs. I went on Facebook and Twitter, and I know that that can be a time sink, but when I sat down and thought about it, I do those things to connect with people. And most of the time that I'm there, I get sucked in because I appreciate that connectivity, and I want to see what my friends are up to, and I want to share with them what I'm up to. Just the other day, I had cereal for dinner because I did not feel like cooking. My husband wasn't home, the kids were asleep, and I didn't really want what I'd made for them. I didn't feel like cooking something else for myself, so I had cereal. I called a friend. I gave my kids a hug when I pick them up from school. That's a huge self-care thing that I don't really think about, again, because it's something that I feel like is automatic or that I should be doing. But it makes me feel good to give them a hug at the end of the day. I had a glass of wine. My mom, Yolanda, was here for the last 2 weeks, and we had wine every night. That's self-care. It's a relaxing thing. And we binge-watched television after the kids went to bed. So there's no wrong way to practice self-care. And as long as you're doing things that are bringing you joy, if at the end of the day you're saying, oh my God, but I didn't do my yoga exercise, you can still stop and look at the things that you did do that brought you joy. So that brings me to our next exercise, which is what have you done? So what have you done in the last week to care for yourself? Whether it was something structured or specific, or whether it was eating cereal for dinner, what did you do? Go back, take and there's everything on the list. Yeah, so go back to the chat and tell us, what did you do in the last week? I love that you had cereal for dinner, Em. I sometimes don't give myself credit for those things. Today, that's awesome. Yeah. And yesterday, naps. Yeah. Oh, Barbara, that's awesome. Naps. Yeah. Mom, you came and visit us. Yeah. And we did lots of stuff. We did lots of wine. And even complaining about Trump, even complaining about the things that are happening in the world that feels unsafe, just getting it out and sharing and not keeping it bottled up is self-care. Staying in bed till 11, yes, and that's awesome. I spent the whole afternoon on the couch yesterday. I just couldn't get out of bed. I wanted to take a 30-minute nap, and I spent 4 hours taking a nap. Barbara, it sounds like you are able to take naps during the day. I love that. Do you schedule your naps, or is it something that you feel tired and you give yourself permission to go lie down? Yeah, see, so when Em got up at 11, she had much more energy. She was able to design and write. It was work-related, but she still had fun, so she still saw it as something that was self-care. Barbara says, actually this weekend, yeah, I realized I was tired and decided the best thing was to take a nap. It was during the kids' nap, so it all worked out. Yeah, it's great when it works out that way, doesn't it? It's nice that your kids still nap. I try and force mine to, but they won't. But yeah, like sometimes just giving in to that exhaustion is just what we need. We're listening to our bodies. And that's what we would tell somebody else to do, right? I mean, if we see our kids are tired and acting up, even if it's not nap time, we'll suggest that they go take a nap. And yet it's not so easy for us to do that, especially during the work week. But I think even on the weekends, yeah, Em is really good at listening to her body. She has some health issues, so she takes naps a lot, and she gives herself permission to do that. Yeah, we're all trying, but you do, right? So this is a really good point, right? So Em says she's trying to. So one of the things that I have really struggled with, and I think a lot of us really struggle with, is being our own worst critic. It is so easy to say, I don't do enough for myself, right? I mean, I made that list for you guys of the things I did in the last week, and that's a huge list. But on a daily basis, I still have that voice of, oh, I didn't do the yoga, or I didn't go for a run, it still cycles through. So the next step is this review. It's trying to undo this inner critic. So this is what I do. I sit down and do a daily self-care review every day. I try to do it writing, to actually write it down so that I can see it, and I have a journal that I do it in. But the truth is, I probably only write it down maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and the rest of the time I just sort of do it as a self-meditation while I'm lying in bed at night. When those voices start coming in of all the things I didn't do, I try and stop myself and say, okay, well, this is probably a good time to say, well, what did I do? And what did I do instead of those things that I didn't do, what did I do instead? What did I do that made me feel good instead? So I took a 30-minute walk, or I taught a really good yoga session. I meditated. I did my daily review. I give myself credit for doing my daily reviews. I had a glass of wine with dinner. I watched TV after the kids went to bed. I Skyped with my mom, or I had cereal for dinner. And I really just go through. I don't really focus on whether it was physical or emotional or psychological or spiritual specifically, but I really just make that list in my head of what I did. And after I've done that list, what you will find, and what I have found, so I hope what you have found, is that you sort of get this inner voice inside that becomes your cheerleader that says, like, right on, good job, you climbed that tree, you ate cereal for breakfast, for dinner, you took care of yourself, good job, and you stop being so critical. And so that's step number 4, the reward. So it's a reminder to yourself, celebrate your wins. And one way that you can do this on a more strategic basis is to really kind of plan out for yourself, how will you celebrate? So again, if you have these goals lined out for yourself, these self-care goals, and then with that you can create a toolbox. Part of that toolbox is how will you celebrate when you achieve that goal? So what are some of the things that you do? Again, I'll go back so we can talk about it. What are some of the things that you do for yourself when you want to celebrate? I would say for me, probably the biggest thing is taking a nap. Giving myself permission to take a nap. That's a big one for me. What about you guys? The glass of wine, that's probably a big one for me too. I celebrate with a glass of wine, like I said. Yeah, so Yolanda, she goes to a movie. Yeah. And do you usually meet a friend for a movie, or do you go by yourself, Mom? Em says chocolate is more of a celebration thing. Yeah, so she never goes to a movie alone. Em eats chocolate. That's awesome. And she does it to celebrate doing some physical activity or getting many things done in her day. Yeah, Yolanda loves chocolate. We ate a lot of chocolate as well when she was here. Yeah, chocolate is great. Yeah, again, that's a really good point. So Em says she's trying not to eat chocolate all the time, so it's a treat when she eats it. So yeah, so these are things that you do to celebrate. So they really are treats. They're not things that you would do every day, because the thing is, if you do it every day, then you're going to do it not as a reward, and then it just becomes something that you can do, and it becomes a little bit, it's not a motivating factor. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, you have to cut yourself some slack, right? If you do it, when you do it, even, um, if it's not to celebrate something, it's still a treat for you. So it's still a form of self-care. Barbara, I don't know if you're still there, but is there anything that you do to celebrate? I know you have your kids with you, so because I heard them before, so maybe you're coming in and out. But yeah, so having a list. So this goes back to that clarifying. So I created a list for myself of what my reward will be. So this is an example. I haven't finished my March planning, but this is my my sort of first step at planning my March monthly goal. So my monthly goal for March is to exercise 30 minutes a day, 4 times a week. I'm starting small. I know myself. I know it won't be every single day a week. And I do teach yoga several days a week, so this is going to be on top of the teaching yoga. So that's my monthly goal, and my reward, if I complete that goal, is to have dinner out with my husband. And then I've broken down different week goals. So in the first week of March, I want to read every day. I'm really bad at, it's so easy for me to go turn on the TV, and I have 4 really good books on my bookshelf, on my bedside table that I have started reading, all 4 of them, but I haven't finished any of them because by the time I get to bed, I'm so tired I read 1 page and then fall asleep. So I have set a goal for the first week of turning off the TV 30 minutes early and going and getting 30 minutes of reading or 15 minutes of reading. And my reward for that at the end of that week is to pamper myself. I just turned 40 and I got a whole bunch of pamper products from people as gifts. And so I'm going to spend one night, take my husband and children, or put them in front of a movie or whatever, and I'm going to go and pamper myself with my products. In the second week, I really want to do sort of more structured meditation. I do guided meditations a lot, but I really struggle with doing meditation without somebody guiding, so I want to try and test it out. And so that's my goal. And I haven't really figured out a reward, but I just put, for the purpose of this, cereal for dinner, because I do, like I said, that's a really big reward for me. And then for the third week, going to bed early. I am also terrible at just binge watching, and then, like I said, being so tired that I just fall asleep, but it's often not until 11:30 or midnight. So my goal for another week goal is to go to bed early, and my reward is going to be to sleep in. So some of these rewards, obviously the pamper night and the sleeping in, I've had to, I set for myself, and then I have to clue my husband in that these are going to be my rewards, and he's going to have to agree with them. So it doesn't mean that I'm going to necessarily sleep in on day 7 when I've completed my week. It has to be something that's convenient for him. But absolutely, that's my reward, and I'm going to celebrate it and enjoy sleeping in. And I haven't gone to week 4, but again, this is just getting started, and I still have 2 more weeks left in February, so baby steps. So what if, you might be asking yourself, and like I said, I can't see the chat when I'm in my my PowerPoint, but you might be asking yourself, this was definitely something I struggled with at the beginning, what if I don't succeed, right? Like, I'm setting these goals for myself. If I don't succeed, if I fail, if I even start by thinking, oh, I'm never going to succeed, then I'm not going to succeed. So how do I be my own cheerleader if I start by thinking I'm not going to succeed? So this is where I like I said, I really struggled with this, and then when I was doing my life coach training, my mentor, the program that I was studying, it was based on this scientific method, and it was one of the reasons why I picked it, because, like I said, my genetic counseling background, I am a scientist, and I like that scientific method. but I hadn't applied the scientific method to self-care. And one of the things that Mitch Matthews said during one of our training sessions was, if you don't succeed, then go back to the beginning, right? If you don't succeed, think of it as an experiment. So why didn't you succeed? Why weren't you able to achieve this goal? And be really honest with yourself. Is it something that you could have done differently? Was your goal clear enough, or maybe you didn't have enough clarity, and so you really, you weren't able to schedule it well? Maybe your reward wasn't big enough. Like I said before, if you're eating, if you're drinking a glass of wine every night, then a reward of a glass of wine isn't going to necessarily be big enough to get you through a whole week. Or maybe you want to reward yourself every day, and then that is big enough, and then you need something bigger for the end of the week. Or is it really that it had nothing to do with you, and it was just that life got in the way? And that happens, especially in our busy schedules. Something comes up, and our kids are homesick, or this week is my sons are on vacation for the next 2 weeks. So I have to set smaller goals for the next 2 weeks because I'm not going to have as much time alone to myself. Life is going to get in the way. So if you view it as an experiment and you view it as giving yourself a chance to review why you didn't succeed, then it doesn't become a hindrance. It just becomes a learning experience. And in that way, we can go from looking at the 4 different components that we put into our self-care toolbox, and we see that it's actually a cycle. So again, the first step is clarifying your goals, and then anticipating what your self-care plans are going to be, giving yourself daily reviews and rewards. And if that cycle doesn't work, just start it again. And being really honest with yourself. And I think one of the key things is self-awareness, right? If we can really understand why things aren't working for us, then we can fix it, instead of trying to, bury your head or hoping that something is we're gonna get struck by lightning. We can really be active in our role. So that is really my presentation. That is really what I wanted to share with you. It's, like I said, it's still a work in progress for me, but I do feel like I've come really far, and in part it's being able to go back in my journal and see how far I've come and see how I've taken these steps. And it's allowed me to learn to be more gentle with myself. So I'm going to open up the lines. So Barbara said, yeah. I was trying to think of something that, so Barbara said she was trying to think of a reward. So she eats a lot of chocolate. Yeah, right. So what, so that's a great thing. I mean, you said, Barbara, you have kids, so maybe a night off. That tends to be, like you saw, sleeping in or taking a night out with the ladies is a nice reward for me, to get away from my children and get to be Marissa, or for me to get to be Barbara. Those are good rewards. Yolan is saying, yeah, that she really appreciates the part about going back if you don't succeed. I'm going to unmute the line so we can talk about that a little bit. I think that's a really big thing for a lot of, for all of us, right? It's so easy to be critical of ourselves, and so everyone's unmuted now. Yeah, it's so easy to be self-critical, and yet we are so good at encouraging others and inspiring others. And if we see somebody else say, "Oh, I'm not successful," to say to them, "No, wait, yes, you are. Look at all these fabulous things you did," right? And it's really, really hard for us to be that voice for ourselves, to be empathetic to ourselves.
I think also, like, when things have changed in your life, like you've had children, or in my case, health issues, it's like accepting that things are as they was. So you're more harder on yourself, and you're trying to keep that lifestyle because you're expecting yourself to have that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And still do the same things. And you're not giving yourself the break or the feeling like you deserve, you know, the self-care because you're like, I haven't done everything that I want to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think we all really struggle with that. And like you said, I mean, for you, the struggle is obviously, it's more health related. And yet I've known you long enough now to know that you also are really good at planning and anticipating because you don't know if you're going to feel good. So, so you're really good at making lists and knowing for yourself, you know, how to take care of yourself if you don't feel good. But yeah, I think I could totally imagine how that's a really big struggle. Yeah, and I think that's where the being patient with yourself and being, you know, and recognizing that even these little things, even if you can't cross things off your to-do list, you've still done things during the day. You still got up. I mean, the best advice I think that I keep coming back to in all of my years of working with counselors and studying counseling, and then also my own self-care practice and my own self-awareness, was a guy who told me, another counselor who worked with a guy who had been in the Army and who had PTSD, really severe PTSD. And he couldn't sleep through the night. And so for him, just getting out of bed in the morning, just waking up in the morning, he viewed that as being a successful. Because he didn't know, since he had lived through these deployments, he had lived all these days where he didn't know if he was going to wake up. So being home and getting to wake up in his own bed was a success for him. And the rest of the day was bonus, was the cherry on top. And that, to me, that I keep coming back to that sometimes because I'm so critical of myself. And like I said, I do lie in bed and say to myself, here's all these things I didn't get done. But when I can sort of set the bar low, if that makes sense, and say, I got all these other things done, so those things on my to-do list didn't get done because all these other things got done, then I feel really positive and really, really happy. Yeah, and those other things aren't as important. But yeah, like I said, Em, I mean, I know you really struggle with the health things, but I also see that you look at life in a very positive way as well, and I don't know if you feel like that's because of your struggles with your health issues that you've had to, or if it's your sort of innate personality.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I'm stubborn.
Yeah. But stubbornness is good, right? So my mom is saying being positive can be a struggle, but it really helps. So I'm going to unmute you, Mom. So how do you see being positive as being a struggle?
I see. I can talk now even if there is no video, right?
Yeah, I turned off the video.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, great. No, I think that's, it's what Em, and when I met you, these challenges are very difficult, and dealing with them in a positive way is difficult, but it does help. Because, there's certain things that you can't control, right? Like your health. You can work with it and get better taking care of the issue. And so being positive is, gets you through every day and to tomorrow. And that's really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think, a big thing, and Em, you and I've talked about this, and Mom, you and I've talked about it too.
Yeah.
Is just recognizing that you're not alone, and
Right.
it's so easy to just, and again, I think with social media and just seeing, everybody post an editorialized version of their life, to forget that everybody has, as Sean would say, their bowl full of shit that they've eaten every day, right? Everybody goes through bad times. And you're really honest in your social media about when things aren't going well. And I actually have noticed since Brexit and since Trump won, I find that a lot of my friends who before were much more positive on social media are coming out of their shell and are, in the sense, they're being more real and they're showing both sides, because I think they recognize that they're not the only one who's afraid, and they want to show their fear and be supported in it.
I think with me though, it's basically, I don't want everybody to think, oh yeah, because I'm posting all these happy thoughts, happy kittens and bunnies, all these happy thoughts, that I'm okay. It's like, no, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Every time I do that, what did my auntie said the other day? I said, oh, life's amazing if you look at it. What she turned around and said to me is, what did she say? She said something like, oh, that's good for you. Your life's amazing. Mine's rubbish. And I'm like,
are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, well, those are the challenges, right? Yeah, I think it's okay to say also, I'm not okay right now, and I can use your help. And I think that social media, and this is, a generational thing speaking, I think we are more isolated now because social media is not face-to-face interaction. And then it's hard to, you can't always, it's easier in a time when you need the support of others, it's easier to do it face to face because it goes farther having that human connection, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really, I think that, in my opinion, part is really, a key thing. I think, like I said, there's no wrong way to do self-care. And so you have to do what feels the best and feels right for you. And so, Mom, like some of my closest friends are people that I've never met in person, because they're people that I met through online support group sites.
Yeah.
And I went to those online support group sites because there were no, because I was afraid to go look for in-person support group sites.
Right.
And so, but again, like I think, but in many ways you're right, because you are right. In many ways, what you're saying about face-to-face, I would probably say, even though I have never met these people, we communicated online for so long and so intensely that, and we write Christmas cards to each other and share pictures on Facebook with each other, and so it's almost as if I know who they are, as if I've met them, and I know them, you get a lot of support from support groups too.
Yeah.
But I think it's really similar, because like you said, Mom, like you have your list of friends that you would call if you want to talk for face to face. For me, it's the same thing, but my list of friends, some of them are people I haven't met face to face.
No, that's true. Yeah.
No, I'm the same.
But for me, they serve that same purpose.
Right.
And I would tell you that I have met them face to face, because that's how close we are. But yeah, so I mean, I'm conscious. I know we started late and we're sort of coming up close to the 1 hour mark, but I really do think that the biggest thing is not only to just have your own sort of self-care routine, but like I said, as part of that, what you're talking about, Mom, of calling somebody to go to a movie because that's your reward, or knowing, calling a friend, or like I know you're really good at meeting friends at the gym, including your friends in your self-care routine can make the self-care routine easier for you. It can help motivate you and keep you accountable, but it can also be in and of itself self-care, because then you're around other people, and you're filling sort of two needs, your social need and your self-care need at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. And, I think the key thing that I've really learned, and that, like I said, it's just that there is no perfect, right? It's always going to be imperfect, and so there's always room to review, and there's always room to alter, and to just be gentle with yourself. Like I said, it was great that you had that you said that you got up at 11 o'clock, so you gave yourself the permission to stay in bed later, and then part of your job feels like self-care for you because it's fun. You love what you do. And so that can help you, that also serves two purposes. So any time that we can sort of find these ways to serve two purposes at the same time is something to celebrate.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I ain't even got dressed today.
And I'm still wearing my pajamas, so it's perfect. I'm wearing my yoga clothes.
I haven't been dressed in 2 days.
Well, like I said, today was one of those days that that wind last night was horrid. I could not sleep.
No.
I was also napping for 4 hours yesterday, but I had a really difficult time sleeping last night. So this morning when the alarm went off and I was like, shower or 20 extra minutes in bed, it was not a difficult decision to make. And tonight when I go to lie down, I'm going to pat myself on the back for staying in bed for those 20 minutes, because who cares if I didn't shower? I don't look dirty.
Well, I'm going to go shower soon because I smell.
I'm going to go to bed early because that's my self-care routine. So one of the things I really wanted to get out of this session, and again, I really wanted to do this webinar for a number of reasons. First of all, because Are you still there, Mom?
Yeah, now I am.
Okay.
Yeah,
I knew.
I miss you from time to time. Your voices appear.
Okay. Well, there'll be a recording so you can catch up. But so I did this webinar because I knew I've been talking about doing a webinar for almost a year, and I just kept putting it off. And so I knew I needed to set a date, and I just needed to do it. But I realized that what I wanted out of the webinar was to really be able to have this conversation and to connect with people who feel strongly about their own self-care and who struggle with it, but who also have their own ways of doing it. So I'm not tonight because I'm tired and I want to go to bed. But tomorrow I'm going to email out a survey just asking sort of what you thought of it and whether you have any comments and what kind of tools, what would be helpful for you. So like we were saying, for me, it's really helpful to meet people and talk with people and to sort of have accountability through friends. And if that's something that would be useful for you both, and for anyone else who might be listening to this, it's something that we can do through my Facebook group, but it's also something that maybe we can figure out a way of doing live through regular webinars like this. So start thinking about that, or what, how I can help you, and also how, as your friend and as your daughter, but for other people who are listening to this too, who in your life you can get that help from and that support from. And yeah, I know I'll stay in touch with you too. And if there's any, Barbara, who's on the call, she had to leave, but anyone else listening to this, please be in touch and let us know how we can be there and help you keep your goals going and your self-care routine going and help you be your cheerleader. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for taking the time and for
you're welcome.
being patient through all of the technical issues.
It's been good.
Yeah. And I'm going to turn the recording off now. So, bye. I think, okay, my mom signed off as well. So I'm going to turn off the recording. My contact information, you know it, blah, 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 blah. Okay, bye.
Bye.